So we got some Kansas City Chief conversation to be had. The gavel dropped. The jury had spoken. The judge reported and made it known that Rashee Rice is going to have a 6-game suspension right off the bat. And if you recall, Rob G, I don't know, a handful of weeks ago, we were talking about where is it going to happen, middle of the season could it be, first third, where will it be, how long would it be also? And Rob and I had that conversation. Rob said kind of a combination of he expects it to be pretty harsh and he himself would want it to be the whole season to really make a point. I said 6 to 8 was kind of what I was thinking, leaning more towards the 6 because historically this league lets a lot go. And Rashee Rice, we know the car accident, walks away from the car wreck, leaves just a bad situation. He and some friends leave, and now here we are with the punishment. So I'm going to start with this. That is a massive blow for a team that struggled offensively last year. And when you deep dive into the numbers, they were horrible in one factor, but they were great in the other. And I'll explain what I mean. The Chiefs weren't great when you're talking about plays down the field, when you're talking about yards per attempt, when you're talking about big play and explosive plays. They weren't that. And historically, similar to the Warriors, where if you create kind of a narrative of this is how you play in our brains, this is what you're doing, right? Steph is shooting threes, Clay shooting, everybody's shooting threes. This is what they do. They're so explosive. And when you find out, you're like, no, they really get a lot of backdoor layups and they play really good defense. That was the Chiefs in the sense that you kind of just remember them when you close your eyes, putting up 35, 40 a game, Patrick Mahomes, 300-400 yards a game. And they really hadn't been that the last couple of seasons. So from that end, getting Rashee Rice was huge, right? We're getting our main target back. We're supposed to get the better and more refined version of Travis Kelce, the more locked-in version, although he done messed around and got engaged to the biggest, most popular woman on earth, arguably.
Right.
So I don't know how that helped. But you're supposed to get him back and ready better than ever. And then, of course, you still have Hollywood Brown coming back from injury. And so you're supposed to be saying, this is, whew, thank God we got those past those couple years. Well, I can understand why somebody would be now pessimistic about this season, but I look at it as like this. The other side of that coin, they weren't explosive, Rob G., but they had one of the highest rates of conversion of first downs. They had Patrick Mahomes had the highest rate of third down conversions for a quarterback. So we know what they did with their defense. I expect the defense to be right there again. So I look at this team as built for this, similarly to the Patriots, built for whatever version we need to be, whatever iteration we need to be this year to compete and to win. And so I think Patrick Mahomes is ready for this. I think a part of this was good that they've gone through these last couple of seasons, figuring out who they were, having to persevere, having guys in and out of the lineup, and Patrick Mahomes doing just enough to get by and get wins to the tune of 15-2. You would think they were 10-7, 9-8 if you fell from Mars the way people talk about them. Yes, they were boring. Yes, they weren't the most explosive. However, they were 15-2, and there's a reason for that because they know how to win. Put them in any situation. If I told you they got 40 seconds to go down and march a touchdown, you'd believe them. If I told you they only get 3 plays and they still got to score a touchdown, you believe they find a way. They've been able to win this in spite of. And so I look at this season as another way that they're going to be figuring this thing out. Now, a couple of things why. Hollywood Brown, I expect him to be that deep threat that was needed now that he's healthy and hopefully be able to go the duration of the season, right? We know Xavier Worthy, he was really good as a rookie. I expect him to be even better second year, right? Now he's really acclimated. Now he's really in the system, and now he really knows what Patrick Mahomes wants and desires, and they can move forward. He can be even bigger and better. And then if you can just ride it out those first 6 weeks, I'll even go as low as 3-3. 4-2 is a little bit more Chiefs-like of them, but I look at this as, boom, now we got our top guy back, and now we're off sailing. So I don't expect this to be a major, major blow for them. I think they've been built for this. And last point, Rob G, Patrick Mahomes, we talked a little bit about this with Brock Purdy. He said, man, I was putting a little bit too much pressure on me. I was trying to do a little too much. And you can even see it, some of his own coaches, some outside execs and guys, scouts who said you can see where he was trying to overcompensate too much. He was actually making ghost defensive plays where he was doing better than what the defense was actually giving him. And I think he was going to bounce back. And he also mentioned the team being tight because the hanging over them was the three-peat. Can we three-peat? Can we three-peat? Can we three-peat? We got to three-peat. And guys were a little wound tightly. I think now that that's over, now let's just get back. We lost bad. We got smacked up in the Super Bowl. Let's get back to the Super Bowl. Let's win a Super Bowl and get back to doing what we do. So disappointing, yes, you lose your best receiver who you were excited to have, but now you don't. But I don't expect a major step back. In fact, I expect their offense to be better than it was last year until he gets back.
I could not disagree with you more.
Let's start it off then.
Yes, because the Kansas City Chiefs, and this might sound like a hot take, even though I don't think it is.
Okay.
With this Rashee Rice suspension now set for the beginning of the season instead of the middle of the season, I believe this cost them the AFC West. Okay. For the first time since 2016. They've won 9 straight division titles, and they have been the class of the division, class of the conference, really, for basically like a decade. The Rasheed Rice injury is important because of where it's taking place. Obviously, he's their best receiver. That goes without question. Obviously, they've shown they can win without him. They did that last season. They went 14-2 without him, right? Or 13-2. So it's not to say that they cannot navigate a scenario where Rashee Rice is not there. But to your point, Travis Kelce took a big step back each of the last 2 seasons to a point where he was considering retirement. Me and Rob, we talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
If you are openly considering retirement, you are already retired. So I don't care that Travis Kelce dropped 20 pounds or whatever is in the offseason. I don't care that he did a GQ interview where he's saying, yeah, I was a little bit distracted and that's why I didn't play so well, but now I'm locked in. That doesn't matter to me, all right? Because mentally, I feel like he's not as committed as he probably would have been 3, 4, 5 years ago, right? And even if he is, it's more big picture in mind. It's, hey, once we get to the playoffs, I'm going to turn it on like I always do. Everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. You mentioned Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown has missed 22 games over the last 3 years. So I don't know if I can count on him, especially after last season, missed basically the whole year, to be a guy that you can, he's even nicked up in training camp, right? So it basically comes down to, for Patrick Mahomes in that offense, a semi-retired Travis Kelce and an up-and-coming Xavier Worthy. Now, Xavier Worthy, I believe in his long-term potential. I believe in his talent. Mm-hmm. The problem is he's still very young, number one. And number two, he's a small guy. So I don't think you can count on him to be your go-to offensive weapon during this Rashee Rice suspension. And last but not least, and this is more important, if you look at their schedule in the first 6 weeks of this upcoming season, they are going to be facing 2 teams that I believe are at a minimum on par with them entering this year. And 2 teams that I believe 1,000 are better than them this year. So they're going to open things up in 2025 here. They got the Chargers in Brazil. I think they're probably going to win that game because they're going to be prepared for a couple of weeks. The Chargers historically play them tough. But they don't actually beat them, right? Then you got the Eagles week 2. I think the Eagles, I'm not saying they're going to win 34-6, but they should roll in that one, even if it's in Kansas City.
I don't know that rolling. I give
saying.
you a win on that rolling.
Just saying. Okay, the Giants, I'm on record picking them to win the NFC East. I don't think they're going to win that particular game in week 3, but they'll give them more than they can handle because their front 4 is very good, and the Chiefs' offensive line is still going to be working its way into form. After that, you got the Ravens, and then you got the Jags. So it is on the table for them to start the season 2-4, 3-3. Again, I'm not saying they're going to miss the playoffs because I don't think that they're going to slip off, but last season, they won 11 games by 1 score or less. Or by 1 score, right?
Yeah.
If less is still 1 score. The law of averages says at some point you're going to, number one, lose one, but you're going to lose several because it's going to balance out over time. Even the best teams probably win 60% of the time, maybe 65% of the time. So if instead of winning 11 games by 1 score, maybe you win 7. You go 7-4, right? And that's the difference when you going 15-2 or 11-6, 10-7. And that's why I believe this season, as much as I hate to say it, the Denver Broncos are going to win that division.
So let me tell you why you're wrong.
Okay.
Number one, you had the Broncos, I think, are going to be a perfectly fine team. But then everything you're saying, you're not allowing for with the Broncos, meaning there's no setback. Maybe that was them playing better and over their heads.
That's fair. Yep.
They could take a step back, right? Because you're going with a team we haven't seen prove anything versus the team we literally have, you just told me, 9 straight AFC West division titles. Sure. So you're going against what we know and talking about a hypothetical, right? And the Broncos, we guess Bo Nix, who I like, but you're putting up against Patrick Mahomes, who finds a way every single time to get it done. So I'm not going against that. Then you want to talk about laws of averages. Well, dang it, Rob G. Some people say, screw you, law of averages. Tom Brady wasn't supposed to be playing until he was 62, winning Super Bowl titles. And that division, dominating and winning year after year, right? At some point, Kelvin Washington and Rob G, 15, 20 years ago, would have been sitting there, and you would have said, no way the Patriots are doing this. No way Tim Duncan is going to be playing 20 years later, still competing, winning championships. My point is sometimes when you're in such a great situation, when there's a great pairing from owner to GM to coach to quarterback, and you have an ethos and a way about you, the laws of averages don't necessarily fit. When I got Michael Jordan, I can win 3, go play baseball, come back, win 3. It don't make sense. But sometimes you have that type of guy and that type of team. And with Patrick Mahomes, there's no way I'm going against that, because later on we're going to talk about a guy in Josh Allen who's got some things going on we'll get to. There's a number in there as well that the brother has been doing everything right.
Yes.
Just can't beat him. And laws of averages will say if I was doing this, and you and I will get there with the numbers, that means I'm beating this person. And nah, bro, that's not the case. So I hear what you're saying, but I can't necessarily just ride with the Broncos, who are more of an up-and-coming, and I have to still see, let me get a couple seasons out of it, Rob G, versus I'm going to go against the guy who's been doing it for nearly a decade and who a coach who has been nothing but successful his whole career, and I'm like, nah, this ain't the year they do it. You know why they're not doing it? Why? Because Rashee Rice missing 6 weeks.
You're talking like I'm saying they're going to miss the playoffs and they're going to suck. No, they're going to be very good. They're going to win 10 or 11 games. The problem is the team that's in their division is going to win 12 or 13.
Settle down. Drew Brees is not walking through that door for Sean Payton. Bo Nix.
It's not just Bo. It's their defense is great.
I do agree with that. And I like I actually like the Broncos. But settle down with the 13. John Elway ain't walking through that
Real
door.
quick, are the Chiefs beating your Detroit Lions without Rashee Rice?
No, absolutely not.
Of course. They'll be 5-1. They're going to lose that one game.
The Lions were supposed to beat them in the Super Bowl. It wasn't supposed to be the daggone 49ers. The whole world wanted that.
Right.
Deep down, Rob Parker even wanted that. But deep down. Deep down. He wanted that. All right. More on that. Rasheed Rice again and what that could mean for the Chiefs. I totally disagree with you. Don't forget also we got Jesse Newell coming up as well. If you want to get in a call, we'll maybe squeeze in a call if you'd like to, 877-99 on Fox. If you want to be more on Rob G's side of this with the Broncos, who, again, I think are going to be good. They're not going to be 13-4, and they're not going to be beating the Chiefs in that division. I don't see it. Maybe you're with me, maybe with Rob G. Rob G, you threw something out. We were talking a little bit, just you and I off the air. Throw that out again.
Yeah, I must say that with regard to this Rashee Rice suspension, again, 6 games for the Chiefs' number 1 wide receiver is – given the fact that the NFLPA is in such a disarray right now, they have no leadership, they're mired in scandal. The fact that they were able to get what was supposed to be a 10-plus game suspension reportedly from the NFL down to 6 is kind of a minor miracle to me.
Yeah, you got the whole Lloyd Howell scandal, hanging out on Magic City Mondays.
Oh,
all the drama there, holding the collusion stuff secret for 6 months. Which, dude, you're our leader. Come tell us. We might be able to get paid. We might be able to get some more money. I said all that to say one thing. The NFL, and you and I were talking about this when we were going over the show in the beginning earlier today. That I think the NFL, they don't suspend people quite like you think they would.
No,
certain or at all in some cases, or not long. And if I told you. If you fell from ours and I said, hey, someone did this, you'd be like, oh, clearly that's a season. Maybe never again they get to you throwing. You beating up girlfriend, throwing her on a pile of guns. That's it, right?
Right.
No, not the case. We've had so many things in the NFL where guys come back from suspensions earlier than you thought or were not suspended as long as you thought. So, number one, that was my first point. Second point was I also don't think you want to, handicap the Chiefs, keep the Chiefs, short a man long because – contrary to what people think, I know we're watching America's Team with of course, Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson. And, well, America's Team right now, at least if you love or hate them, and this is just by the numbers, is the Kansas City Chiefs the last few seasons.
By a lot.
Yeah. They get the most viewership of any team. And I think, again, love them, hate them, whatever it is, I think the league is fully aware of that, Rob G. And we want them to be the better version of themselves.
So are you saying there's something nefarious going on between Roger Goodell and the NFL?
I don't know. It sounded like I went to high school with him. Nefarious? Yeah, Nefarious Jenkins. I know him. Yeah, his sister was cute. No, my point is that I think the league is, all right, 6 games, blah, blah, get back in there. Here, you guys get your number 1 guy back. Go play because people want to watch you, and they don't want to watch you guys, down a man for too long. I'm just saying. Nefarious, Cavarious, Cavante,
okay, so
don't matter.
Do you think, and again, we're up against it, do you think it still would have only been 6 games if he had not settled? If he had actually gone through the process and had the judge come down, would it have been closer to that 10 games?
Yes, because I think they often don't mind, don't mess with us. Let us offer leniency when we choose to. Don't mess with us.
Gotcha.
And so I think they'd have no problem doing that. But again, by the way, that was a serious crime. Serious incident, too.
1,000%.
Because one thing, accidents happen, but driving crazy, getting in an accident, fleeing, not seeing who's there, who could have been hurt, could have been dead. That's a terrible thing for sure. So